What's going on, everybody? Welcome. It's David Piatek and Dwayne. I got a Kimball. Wait, no, I got a video for that Kimball. Man, we've been doing this for a long time now, haven't we?
Oh yeah, over 2 years.
Yeah. No,
Over
that's awesome.
August, this past August made it 2 years for us.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's been a long time. All just from a YouTube search for getting some help, and here we are doing these videos. So I really appreciate everyone joining us. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think what we're gonna start off with is just a couple updates. I know I got a ton of updates on my end. And Dwayne, I don't know if you got any updates on your end, but I'll kind of just kick off a couple things. So one, pretty big for the veteran community. Last month, there was over 50,000 VA home loans done. It
How
is
many?
over 50,000.
Whoa.
So
Ooh.
that's huge. So a lot of people out there, maybe on the sideline, but the reality is there's a lot of people that are leveraging the benefits because to me, this is like the best worst time, right? Winter markets, normally people don't want to move. And then when they don't want to move, sellers normally give them seller concessions, meaning paying for closing costs. Most of our loans right now do have seller credits just because of the time of the year. So it's pretty awesome. And then there's also been other things like, and I can also expand on this if you guys have questions, but the Road to Housing Act of 2025, there's like a crazy amount of benefits in that program just from like a housing perspective. And there's also a couple things for veterans in there as well. So I'm doing a video on that. And then recently also launched a video on the VA loan and disability ultimate guide. It's 55 minutes of like everything you could imagine about the VA home loan that you would want to know. So those are a couple updates on my end. What's going on with any stuff with VA disability?
Nothing new, but recently, when I say recently, like in the last 30 days, but
Yeah.
I was thinking about something and I can't remember where I read it, but it pertains to attorney fee agreements.
Okay.
Because sometimes what veterans will do, they'll have a representative, a claims agent or a lawyer, and those are the ones that get paid. They actually get paid, right? If they
Right.
if they win supplemental or higher review. And so what you would see veterans do, they'll be, displeased with, the claims agent or an attorney, and they'll let those individuals file that appeal. And then they'll say, I want to revoke you. I don't want you to represent me anymore. And then they'll go and get another lawyer. And now it just confused, it just confuses everybody because like the veteran wins. Now who gets paid? Now you got the new lawyer
Right.
saying, hey, I did all the work. You got the old lawyer saying, I did all the work. So then it's this big mess. And I'm going to do a video on this where I'm just talking about fee agreements because one thing that veterans fail to realize, if you revoke an attorney, especially if you do it before you file that high level review, that you need to have a discussion with that attorney and say, or claims agent and say, hey, you need to send a letter to the VA and to state that I forego any future payments. So then when you file that appeal, okay, or you go and get another representative, then that 20%, if you win, goes to that new lawyer, or if you do it yourself, then the VA doesn't
Oh.
pay the previous lawyer. Now, that letter is critical. That lawyer should send the VA that letter and send you that letter, meaning that the letter that has the information, hey, I forego any future payments. If the lawyer says, I don't know what you're talking about, they lie, okay? Because they are trained on that when they become accredited, all right? So they know the veteran doesn't know, and then, maybe that issue has been on appeal for, let's say, 10 years, and the veteran wins. They get $600,000. That lawyer that didn't do crap gets 20%. And now the vet has to fight and say, hey, I revoked them 10 years ago. And the VA is going to be like, we don't have that letter
Oh
that
wow.
states they forego their any future payments or something like that. So I was doing some research in the M21-5, and I was like, hey, I got to do a video on this because I was talking to a veteran, and then I was reading up on some stuff, and he was thinking, Oh, well, that lawyer didn't do anything, but you revoked them, but did you confirm they sent that letter to the to the VA stating that? So that's
Wow.
nothing, fee agreements is not new, but people will be like, go get somebody that's accredited, go get a lawyer that's accredited. I'm going to get a lawyer. And they don't understand when they sign that 21-22 or 21-22 alpha, what could possibly come along with that.
Wow. And that's a lot of money that they could be leaving on the table. And I didn't realize it goes back that far.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen
Wow.
appeals go back to like when I was rating, I retired in 2018. I think the furthest appeal that I saw was maybe like early 80s. It was yeah. And with the vet was on it because even though when you go before, like back when I started, appeals were taking like 5-6 years. Okay. They're considerably faster now. Veterans still think, they say, I had to wait 8 months for my appeal. You know what? Veterans back in like 2005, 2000, if you'd have told them 8 months, they'd be like, hey, I'll be at Kentucky Fried Chicken or wherever. I'll wait. And then they turn around, they file with BVA. And that was like close to 10 years. So you could be looking at anywhere on average, like between 9 to 12 years.
That's crazy.
So the lawyer not trying to push the envelope, like, hey, let's try to get you on the docket. And I've seen veterans that clearly, David, they clearly could have been marked hardship, especially financial hardship during the housing crisis, to get their claim moved to the front of the line so they don't get foreclosed on, maybe,
Right.
getting groceries. And the lawyer didn't do anything. Didn't even tell
No.
the vet. And so now, vet probably lost their home, car, whatever, when, that claim could have been adjudicated a lot faster.
That's
So
crazy.
just know when you decide, when you listen to somebody on Facebook, on YouTube and say, hey, get somebody that's accredited, especially if you go with not a VSO, but a claims agent or lawyer, because those are the ones who get paid and they sit on it. And then you say, I'm going to, revoke. Can we call it, when I say POA, I'm actually talking about VSOs, claims agent. That's just the VA rater coming out in me. But now, but for all intents and purposes, claims agent or attorney that's accredited. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's crazy that they do that. But listen, guys, if you have questions, please drop them down in the comment section. We are going to go through them. And then also we give you guys updates because there's a lot of things that are going on. So Dwayne, let's answer, I guess, a couple questions and then we can kind of talk about other topics kind of like as we roll into it. So I know John Smith, thanks for watching. I know you dropped a comment one more below. We do see the post. So Marine veteran with land paid for 6.85 acres. That's awesome. Tennessee with a double wide paid for I want a house. Does it have to be concrete pad 100% disabled? So if I'm not sure of the question, but if you are looking for a construction loan, then you would have to contact someone that does those. We don't do them, but you can always hit me up. I could make a recommendation for that. If you have a double wide now and you want to put it on something, you might want to just talk to the manufacturer on that to see, like, do you have to put it on a concrete pad? If that doesn't answer the question, make sure that you drop another question clarifying it. But no, I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us, Galen Turner. Who else? This one's for you.
SMCL, is there highly likelihood of a CMP? Have you had one before? I used to, I've actually granted some of those without a CMP exam. There is criteria in the in the M21-1 for SMCL and all SMCL. So if you meet that criteria, and David, one thing about the SMCL, what they're talking about aid and attendance. That's on the VA form 21-2680. They have trick questions on there. I don't think they meant to be tricky, but they are. So I used to give classes on that because veterans, they would answer wrong. But if they give you a CMP exam, just make sure that the conditions that you list on the 2680 are service connected. I've seen veterans put conditions that they're not service connected for, and the examiner says yes, they need aid and attendance for X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z is not service connected. So guess what the rater is going to do? Deny the claim.
Wow. That's something right there. Justin, hi. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
Flynn, I've had my home with a VA loan for about a year now. How long should I wait to sell it before it becomes profitable? That is $1 million question. That one thing with that, okay? So anytime you buy a home, typically you need a couple years in that house in order to sell it and break even, right? Unless the market dictates otherwise. So some markets move really fast. Like you may be, let's say, in the DC area where a lot of people are moving in and out, and so there's always transactions happening. It's a little bit easier to sell, and we typically see home prices increase pretty fast. But if you're in a rural area where there's not many sales, then it takes a lot longer to sell. So it's really going to come down to your market. Now, you could always, if you use the realtor to help buy a house, I do recommend that you buy, and you liked working with them, you could reach out to them and see, what they think the current value is to kind of see what you want to do. And I think just in general, from a home ownership perspective, we all ideally want to be able to think far in advance to be like, oh, I want to move in 7 years or 8 years, which the national average is 7 years, moving or refinancing. But life happens, right? And we know that. That you may have to sell your home sooner than later, because sometimes, you know what, Dwayne, people will contact me and say, I bought a house and I realized after I bought it that it's too big for me. I want to downsize. And I recently had that happen with somebody. And unfortunately, they just didn't have the money to sell it. But then, they kind of were in this pickle of like, well, what do I do? Right. I just don't want to be here anymore. But that's why you really want to think through purchasing a home. If if it's possible, if it's not like a life event, especially when it comes to the size of a house, because I'll tell you that the bigger the house, the bigger the problems and the bigger the bills that you have for that. All right. And I just said, so yeah, make sure you guys drop questions. Angela, hi. Thank you for joining us today. Let's see, what's this? Look, those people get paid always want an independent contractor inspect the home, period. So John, I think this one's for me. So when you buying a house, right, you do want to get a home inspection. It is not required per the VA, but they do encourage you to do one. Some of these tests, right, can range from $400 for a basic inspection all the way up to like $1,500 total for like getting a sewer scope, water test, septic test, roof exam. Sometimes you might be like, regular inspector may not do that. Or they may be like, hey, look, you might need to get someone structural to make sure this thing is good. So definitely plan ahead financially as far as the money that you need in order to purchase a property, because there's definitely some out-of-pocket costs with that. So let me go on to the next one. I also plan to move to Arizona, but want to keep my house in South Carolina. Can I rent out my house in AZ and use the VA loan again? Yes, you can. So that's another cool part of the VA loan, which a lot of veterans, there's still a lot of misconceptions about, Dwayne, is that you could only have one VA home loan at a time. So you can have multiple VA home loans. The one thing you have to be cautious of is at some point you exhaust what's called your entitlement. Now, right now it's $806,500. So in this example, if you bought a house for $400,000 with your VA loan, you'd still have $406,500 left over to do zero money down. Anything over that would require a 25% down payment. But I think the easiest thing to do, Flynn, is just schedule a call with me down in the description below. And then we can go through your exact scenario and know exactly what's going on.
Yep. But Flynn, if your home is not in the Cherry Grove section of North Myrtle Beach, no, you cannot cannot do it. You cannot do it. Your home has to be in the Cherry Grove section of North Myrtle Beach.
That's funny. Now, this one's for you, I think.
Yes, do things in Collins versus Ingram, range of motion, line, knee back, etc. They have to consider your range of motion without medication. Most important thing when it comes to range of motion. They have to measure it using a medical device called a goniometer. And some VA contract CMP examiners are not doing it, and veterans don't know what they need to do if that particular examiner refuses to do that. I won't get into it, but guess what? I got a video on that.
I think we got a lot of videos on a lot of
Yeah.
things. This one's for you
I
too.
use a 4138. Right. So again, Queen, did you ask the VA if your attorney sent in a letter stating that they forego any future payments? You need that because, David, if VA employees are running 100 miles a minute,
Mhm.
and when it gets to the promulgation and authorization stage, after that rating decision is done, those VSRs, they're looking, hey, does the veteran have dependents? You know, how far are we going to go back with this back pay? So then they got to figure out what was the 80% in, 2023. And then what was the percentage for 80% in 2024? They're looking at all this stuff. And if they just see, oh, yep, there's a POA attorney, automatically they're thinking, oh, I got to withhold 20%. And you think the VA process is slow, wait until you got to get the finance department doing an audit to try to give you some money back. That might take longer than a regular appeal.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think this is a YouTube first. I love you, David. Thank you.
With no explanation.
No explanation. I think it's the first time someone's just let me know how they're feeling. But this one is a YouTube first. So thank you for that. Sean, love from West Virginia. Thank you very much. I got my 100% PNT. I'm in
All
New York
right.
City. Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Dave, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say, my wife has a girlfriend that lives in New York. She just came back from, was it upstate Pennsylvania, the Poconos, I think. And then they went to New York City. And she was telling her there's no tax exemption for veterans at 100% in New York. Have you ever heard of that?
You know what? There's a lot of states that don't have exemptions.
California.
And not only that, I did a video that's going to be released this week talking about where veteran states are, or counties, I should say, but states also are kind of playing with some of the things they're doing to help veterans with property tax exemptions, where now they're going to be getting taxed on their property taxes. So Cook County, Illinois is one good example, because in some areas they increased assessments by 130%. And basically it kicked veterans out of being tax exempt from property taxes. So, that's why this is so important to always be like on top of what's happening, because you could not, it'll cost you, like literally cost you money. Right.
Yeah.
So just be careful with that. And then some states too, Dwayne, or some counties will have income limits on how much you make.
Yeah.
So all that stuff is important to understand on that. But yeah, that's good. David is the man, so thank you. I like this. No, is that Bill Burr? So sometimes people think that I remind them of Bill Burr, especially when I get angry. So thank you, 66. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. This one's for you.
We just talked about this. The video we record. Do you think vet 7% and under will be?
Oh,
yeah.
This is that new bill that they're trying to pass that's actually getting a lot of momentum. Right. So it's like I forgot what it's called, but essentially it's like the top tier of disabled veterans that are like severely ill and surviving spouses will get an additional $10,000 a year. So $833.33 a month. Yep. But it's going to be funded, I guess, by veterans. And so what they're saying, which is I think is crazy, and I don't know how we have such a positive bill, but yet such a what is going on thing with it, that veterans. Okay, so let me explain how it's there's a lot to this. So let me explain one part. So currently today, if you have a 10% or greater VA disability ratings, right? So you're rated 10% for tinnitus, you don't have to pay the VA funding fee, right? So the first time you use the VA loan and you don't have a VA disability, it's 2.4% VA funding fee. Subsequent use, meaning every VA loan after your first VA home loan, you pay 3.3% if you do 100% financing. Okay. So that's just a general caveat to that. This new bill would say that when you use the VA loan for the first time and you're 10% or greater, you don't pay the VA funding fee. But for every VA loan after that one that you get, and you're at 70% or lower disability rating, you pay the VA funding fee. So only people that are exempt is 80, 90, and 100. Right? Those are the only ones that would be exempt from the VA funding fee. And I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting that, like, because does it affect, being TDIU? Because technically you're maybe at 70%, right? You're not full 100. So they're making other disabled veterans pay for other disabled veterans. I think it's like the first time in history they're doing something like this.
Yeah, yeah. But it has nothing to do with SMC.
Ah,
It has nothing to do. Now, there is a SMC that it could fall under, like SMC 1, SMC R1, R2. But again, we were talking about, Dave, they're going to, if this bill passes, they're going to have to be very descriptive as to what catastrophic means, because you do not want, even if I was still rating, I'm like, look, I don't want to rate any of these cases until you all give me specifics. Like, we talked about the PACT Act. New condition under the PACT Act for Agent Orange, hypertension. Veterans in, boots on ground in Vietnam, yes, confirmed. During a particular time frame, check, confirmed. Current diagnosis of hypertension, check, confirmed. Now I'm just trying to figure out the effective date and percentage I'm going to grant.
wow.
Don't leave it up to VA employees, because then you're going to have people, well, my tinnitus that's been ringing in my ears every time I ride my Harley Davidson is catastrophic. They're going to be like, why? So.
Yeah, you have to be careful with that. This one's a very good story. Hello, you too. My appeal was granted October 1st this year for TDIU, and it's been on appeal since 2012. Retroactive pay was great.
I don't want to say, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing his name right.
Remy?
That's what I was going to say.
That's what I'm thinking.
Let us know. Yeah, Remy. So, Remy, are you saying, is that an all-inclusive trip for David and I to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's very positive. See, I like you putting out that positive vibes out there, Dwayne. Thank you.
You know what? If he don't want to pay for the all-inclusive trip, hey, I'll just take a lunch at Sizzlers.
That's just we got some support out there. 13 years of back pay is insane. Congratulations, brother. So thank you. We always try to help each other, right? Support each other. This is what I'm talking about. There's a two-part question. I don't want to mess this up.
I see it down here.
You do? Okay, so one, Joe basically said, I was diagnosed with hemophilia in 1987 and have
a 0% service-connected rating for same diagnosis. How can I get this increase? Okay, I'm just reading further down. 7-minute, 15-minute mark. People, and Dave, you will not believe when I'm doing research on a video. M21, I'm looking at the M21-1 increased evaluation claims. So let me just read this, because it's crazy how you asked this question. This is from the M21-1. And a claim for increase in evaluation of a service-connected condition, the 3 specific elements identified in particular 38 CFR, which I'm not looking at, are neither applicable to nor required to be demonstrated for examination purposes. There is no prescribed standard for evidence that must be present prior to requesting an examination in a typical claim for increase, because a lot of people will say you have to show treatment showing that your condition has worsened. The M21-1 that I just read, there is no prescribed standard for evidence that must be present prior to requesting an examination and a typical claim for increase. Okay. Now, should there be? Yes. Because if you go to that CMP exam and a doctor doesn't check a particular box, for example, I did a video about the migraine DBQ. So we all know you can get 0, 10, 30, and 50% for migraines, right? Well, all their boxes on there for the 0, 10, and 30, but they removed the box for the 50% criteria. Exactly. And so in that video, exactly. So in that video, I'm telling people, hey, this is what you need to say when you go into that CMP exam. This is what you need to put in your lay statement
Wow.
when you submit with your claim. Because if the doctor doesn't put anywhere in the remarks section or anywhere that you stated your migraines impact your employment and you get service connected, you might only get 30%. If you're at 30% trying to go for the increase, they're going to do a confirm that continue. For a lot of you that don't know what confirm that continued is, don't worry about it. I got a video on my channel explaining it. So that way, if you have to appeal it, you have that evidence showing that you should warrant that increase, and it is of record at the time that claim was adjudicated. Okay.
Wow.
It's crazy. So this is what I was doing research for increase. Now, here's the thing, David. They gave this gentleman the answers to his question in the rating decision. Because by law, when they grant 0, 10, 30, whatever percentage they grant, they're supposed to tell you why they didn't grant, why the next higher percentage was not warranted. You read that, you go get the evidence to reflect that, and you put it in your lay statement, and you talk about it on the CMP exam. That's it. That's an increase.
I like that. This one's for you.
Can I get leg fatigue secondary to my bilateral plus planus and strain in both knees? Leg fatigue. Chronic fatigue syndrome? Maybe. Chronic, I've seen that primarily chronic CFS, what they call it, chronic fatigue syndrome. I've seen that on presumptive. A lot of veterans get granted service connection for that on presumptive, but you can claim it secondary. Just make sure you find some medical studies linking that.
That's what ChatGPT is for, Dwayne.
Yeah. But sometimes you got to fact check it.
You got to. Oh yeah, you do. All right. So John, want mobile home. Okay. Want a house. You have great credit. What do I qualify for? So this is what I'll tell you. I think right now at this point, you probably just want to schedule a call with me because we got to definitely go over your situation and then help government contractor. That's something that you may have to find because the VA doesn't provide those. And there's also potentially, John, you can qualify for the VA Specially Adapted Housing Grant. So it's a pretty cool grant. So if you have a disability that warrants getting this money, it's like 120,000 or something like that. It's more. It's a little bit, maybe a little bit more than that. Essentially, if you own a house, okay, they can give you that money or up to whatever they give you a grant for to actually do renovations to your existing house, right? To be able to renovate it to meet your requirements. The second part is you can also buy a house, right? At that time, close on it or go under contract, apply for the grant, close on it, and then you'll be able to use that money to do renovations to the house. Or, which is a crazy thing, I didn't know you can do that. You can buy a house and you can, if the house is already whatever, and it has all the adjustments in the house made that you would need for your VA disability, you can actually use that money as a down payment for your house. So I thought that was pretty cool. I did not know about that up until recently. All right, next question is for me. When buying a home with a VA home loan, do you approve for the property list price or property value? So one thing, if you guys need help with a pre-approval or getting a mortgage, you guys can actually work with me and get all this knowledge you guys listen to in each of your transactions. But one thing with this is that what I think you're saying is that what the list prices of a home, so let's say it's 200,000, and let's say the value comes in at 220, right? Then you pay whatever you go under contract for, right? So if the house was listed for 200, You can make an offer for 190 if you want. You can make it for whatever you want. If it's accepted or not, that's going to be the difference here. But if you list it for 200, you make an offer for 200, value comes in at 220, you just keep that extra 20,000 in value. If you're buying it for $200,000 and the appraisal comes in at 190, then you go back to the negotiating table with the seller, and they may tell you like, you can pound sand. You have to come up with the $10,000. Okay. And some veterans know this coming in. They're like, hey, they put contingent, or they put what's called a appraisal gap waiver in there. So they say like up to X amount of dollars. If the appraisal comes in short, we'll pay the difference, because they may just be in a hot housing market. But by law, the VA does have the VA mandatory clause, which is also known as the escape clause, that you sign that with your loan application. So if you, let's say the appraisal comes in lower, you're protected with the VA from the seller holding your earnest money if they don't agree to the new price or whatever you guys negotiate. Just know that if it comes in short, you do have to come out of pocket for that. So either you have that in savings or you can get gift funds to do that. All right, next one is for you, I believe.
If you're 90% in TDIU, P&T, you get 100%. Can you keep TDIU? Yes. When I first started rating, they would have us to remove it because the 100% is the greater benefit of the two. So you can use 60% to get the SMCS, not the okay, this is good. So what they're talking about is SMCS. One of the criteria for SMCS is you have to have one disability at 100% and other disabilities totaling 60% or higher. Okay. Now, when you get granted IU, your overall percentage is not 100%. Okay. It could be, 70, 80, or 90%, but you are considered 100%. Now, sometimes they'll look at, let's just say you get service connected for IU because you had 70% for PTSD, but you have other disabilities totaling 60% higher. They will use that 70% for PTSD because that's what they use to grant you TDIU as the single 100%. Okay. But if you go from 70% PTSD to 100, yes, in that example, you get to keep the SMCS. I would have to do research if you are granted other disabilities outside of that. In this example, 70% for PTSD, and you get 100%. I think you lose that SMCS, but that's when I rate it. I would have to go back and look to see if that has been updated or not.
That's awesome. One thing that I'll add to this 100% TDIU conversation is that I get a lot of confusion from veterans around being 100% TDIU and 100% PNT when it comes to working. Because some veterans will be like, I'm 100% PNT, I cannot work. And I'm like, the government won't let me work. And I'm like, no, that's 100% TDIU. So just know, don't limit yourself. And even if you are 100% TDIU, you can make an additional income up to the national poverty limit, which is like 14,000. So you can make extra money every month, right? Up to $1,000 a month. Well, a little over $1,000 a month, you could make that. And one thing to know, like if you're self-employed and you're writing things off, technically you can make more money in a way, but they're going to go based on what your taxes are.
Right.
And that's good.
I did a video on some veterans that were getting TDIU, and it was Atlanta. Yeah, it was Atlanta. And they had severed TDIU because they said that they were working. And in that video, they showed what one of the veterans, I guess, gave permission for the rating decision. And I noticed it said propose to sever, right? So when they do that, they have to grant you due process, right? And in a due process, you have the option to request an RVSR hearing. And people don't read that part, and they get their benefits severed. I was responding to a veteran's comment this morning and says, hey, Dwayne, I've been waiting 10 months on my RVSR hearing due to adverse action. Should I complain? No, because you're still going to get that percentage that you're currently at. And if they reduce you, you're not going to have to pay that difference back.
Oh, I got
Right.
you.
So now what I would be doing, and I told the veteran this, go out and get evidence to show that you should stay at that current percentage, because unlike an appeal, you can submit new evidence at an RVSR hearing. So hopefully, these past 10 months, you've been going out and getting evidence showing that you should be at that current, stay at that current percentage. Again, these are, I don't want to say they're tricks, but this is why it's so important to be educated on this process and how the different regulations and references can impact what you're doing. And, I would say start my videos, because I got a couple of videos on adverse action, RVSR hearing. What do you do? And I'm talking about, hey, going out and getting evidence. I've had an RVSR hearing where the veteran, we were proposing to reduce a mental condition from like 70 down to 10%.
Wow.
Which was going to significantly impact his monthly compensation. He brought a DBQ to the RVSR hearing showing that he should be 100%. So I increased him from 70 to 100, gave him P&T out the door.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes. And the veteran was shocked. He was like, I looked at it. I was like, oh, yeah, it's actually, I can use this. Yep. According to this, it shows you 100%. Now he has to go through the process.
Right.
I'm not guaranteeing anything, but yeah, based on this, I got to look at all the evidence. If you sought treatment at a VAMC and all that, and the veteran was like, went on this long rant. I was like, yeah, I can do it. And he was like, whoa, what? What did you say?
Wait a second, that's too easy.
What'd you say, Willis?
That's funny. It happens. All right, we got another one to Tony.
Right.
I got 100% PNT, went through via salt, and went in effect.
Congratulations.
Congrats. Talked to a lot of people recently. Bill, my credit's not good. And that's okay. Listen, guys, I think one of the big things for veterans, especially looking into, New Year's resolutions going into next year, right? Credit is something that time and or money can fix. Right? Just I want you guys to think about this. Any type of late payments that you have, collections, all those fall off after 7 years, right? So it may seem like a long time, but trust me, time flies by. And the money part would be like you have money to pay it down. And one thing that I'll tell you is that you can dispute things on your credit report. Dwayne, things are not as hard as they used to be, right? You pay these people $200 a month to, fight your credit. We have something called ChatGPT, right? In an online system right now, okay? And you can get a copy of your free annual creditreport.com, okay? Every year, everybody watching, everybody in the United States, everybody, literally everybody, can get a free credit report, okay? Maybe if you're like 10 years old, you can't get a credit report, right? You don't have one. 18 and older, right? You can get a copy of your credit report. Don't use those like what's it called? Like Credit Karma. They use Vantage Score 3. That doesn't pull all the data. You actually want to go to there and get your actual credit report.
Freecreditreport.com.
Freeannualcreditreport.com. Yep.
Okay.
And then what you can do as well is you could figure out where you have issues, right? I have a medical collection. I have a speeding ticket collection. I forgot that I had something, or I had some late payments. Go to ChatGPT and he'll help you draft this letter that you will then mail out yourself. That's the only difference here. Like you have to do a little bit of work to do the mailing out yourself. Do not dispute things online. Do not fall for that trap. Please.
Yep.
Take the time. Go to the mailbox. Go get postage stamps. You may not know what that is because everyone sends emails these days. A stamp is something you put on a letter that you mail out. Okay. I had to mail some stuff. Yeah, look at you.
And these things are probably like 2 years old because I don't hardly ever use them.
I don't send mail. Like we had to send out Christmas cards the other day, and my wife got a bunch of cards. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. We can't just send an email out to everybody because even when you do parties now, like they just send you an email invite, and I'm like, all right, I got something. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, you could definitely do it 100% with time. You have great credit. And income, it doesn't affect this. Like we have people that, you may make 40,000 a year, have perfect credit, and you have people that make $250,000 a year that don't have perfect credit,
Right.
right? It's all about living within your means.
You know what I did, David? This was years ago. It had to be
Yeah.
over 20 years ago. When you said I didn't, it was a new thing where they would talk about disputing online. And I remember this was at least 15 plus years ago. Somebody said, don't dispute online. But even in the late 90s, when I was trying to get some stuff cleared up, my uncle sent me this book, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, I believe. And it said in this book to mail it in and do a certified return receipt. And they have 30 days to answer that dispute. If they don't, then they have to take it off. And they give you the template they gave us the template of the letter to write. And so I would already have that letter on deck.
On deck.
Because I know they wasn't responding, in that 30 days and that certified when they got to sign for it. And I was looking at something just over the weekend on YouTube, and somebody, and I'm not a credit person, I don't know that is third party, he say, she said, if you apply for a loan through a bank and they don't give you that loan, you can get that removed from the credit report because you didn't receive anything from that.
Oh, the credit inquiry.
The credit inquiry you can. You don't have to wait the 7 years. You can get that immediately taken off.
Yeah.
Or 3 years, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So credit inquiries, it's a big confusion for a lot of folks. Those don't really have a big impact for you after 90 days. The reason why it's impact for 90 days is because they want to see if you took out new credit, and they're alerting other creditors that just in case you're trying to get multiple lines of credit or something like that. So it's just there to protect like people that may be getting into trouble, right? It's like, All right, let's go to the next one. Just wondering, it's all VA loans have no closing costs. All VA loans have closing costs. It just depends on how much. So if you're purchasing a property, even if you're 100% PNT, you still got to pay closing costs. The only difference between a VA loan and a non-VA home loan is the VA funding fee. That's like the huge difference monetary wise. So if you have a 10% or greater rating, you don't pay that VA funding fee. Otherwise, you have to pay for closing costs. And with this 50,000 veterans using the VA loan last month in refinancing or purchasing, I am still shocked and blown away, Dwayne, on how much money veterans overpay in closing costs. It is wild. It was just, I almost threw up when I saw it. I'm like, some of these places, man, they charge crazy discount points, origination fees. If you're looking at marketing, okay, I'm going to say this. This is like a general thing, and people cannot understand it for the life of them. I get so heated about this. Like I feel my heart. I got like one of those heart things. Like I feel like this thing's about to just go off, and like I'm going to get an alert. Oh man, it's crazy. But like overpaying like $8,000, like their life savings. It's crazy. So if you guys reach out to me, we don't charge those things. So I can at least help you through that process. And also, I look out for you to make sure like you're not getting screwed on anything. Okay. I've been 100% permanent or 100%
temporary for 3 years. Yeah.
What's that mean?
So what you see this mainly in cancer claims. Because they set
my
up.
buddy had it. Yep.
Yeah, they set up routine future exams, and then the system doesn't alert them that, hey, this veteran has a temp 100%, and we need to schedule a routine future exam. Now, here's the thing, and I just wrote this down because I'm gonna do a not a full video, probably a YouTube short on this. Temp 100%, can you still file other claims? Now, that could be a good thing and that could be a bad thing because you're getting that 100%, right? You're not getting all the other PNT benefits that come along with it. But yeah, you probably be getting upwards to $4,000 tax-free a month. But eventually that's going to go away. So out of those 3 years, have you been putting a game plan together to get you to 100% permanent total? If that is your overall goal. If you haven't been doing anything, because they have this thing called, David, continuity. Meaning You haven't been getting treatment. And I tell people, you know, one thing about the military, think about when you're on active duty, how many days that you went to work that you were 100% where you were just nothing going on with you? No pain, no ache, no nothing. Probably a handful of days. Rest of the days, you know, I can remember I had fractured a bone in my ankle playing basketball. Thought I was Michael Jordan in Germany. They make me go to the field in Grafenwehr. So I was in the rear in the barracks. I couldn't go out to the field because I couldn't wear a boot. Guess what they had me doing? While the unit was out on field maneuvers, they had me pulling gate guard on an empty motor pool in a cask and my toes. So I'm like, I got like 4 or 5 pair of socks on to cover my toes up because I couldn't put a boot on. And then the sergeant major comes like, if you get frostbite, I'm gonna Article 15 your butt. And I was like, you know what?
You know what, Dwayne? When people say thank you for your service, I always think about when I tell other veterans, I think of all the nonsense that we had to deal with in the service.
Man, I remember the lawnmower didn't work. And the supply sergeant gave us scissors. And we out there cutting grass.
No, you didn't. You were cutting
with
scissors with scissors.
In Texas, Fort Hood with scissors. And they had us all lined up. And we were like, it wasn't like we were in trouble or nothing. They was like, we need to. And so we went out there, platoon sergeant's like, supply sergeant got some scissors. I was like,
man, if they had TikTok back then.
I was definitely being all I could be. Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, cutting grass with scissors, man. That's classic. All right, this one's for you.
You know what? Awesome question, man. This is another YouTube. This is another YouTube short. Yes. So what you will see, what I've seen lawyers do, and this is the trap, like that. Would you say, David, that closing cost trap?
Yeah.
Where they get you to pay all these ridiculous fees. Attorneys, accredited people. So you have people on YouTube, go get somebody that's accredited. So you go and get a lawyer that's accredited. Some of these lawyers, what they do, Dave, they'll say, hey, we'll take care of it. They'll send a letter to the VA and say, we forego all of our fees. So what that tells you is they got a service agreement with that vet for 33 1/3. Because regardless of what the vet wins on that high-level review or supplemental claim, the VA is only going to pay that lawyer 20%. That lawyer know if they tell the VA, I'm foregoing all my fees. That's all they got to do. But now they got an agreement, a contract with the veteran for 33 1/3. So if that veteran don't pay them that 33 1/3, they got the resources to go and sue that veteran, and they're going to win. They're going to get that money. And they know how much back pay you get because guess what? You signed off on that form for them to look at your records in VBMS. And a lot of veterans don't even know that.
Snakes. That's what I call them. Robin's got a good question. David, what's the difference between you and a broker? Thank you for the question. So, actually, I'm going to do a video here just talking about the differences of like what we do on our end versus what a lot of other companies do. So, one, I work at a bank, right? So you have mortgage brokers that may have like different agreements with different lending institutions, right? They can shop your mortgage around. We could do the same thing, right? Sometimes we can use our own money or we can go outside and get the cheapest money possible. But I would say the biggest difference when working with me and my team on this is the knowledge that we have with the VA home loan itself, and then being able to help you through that process. Because I'll tell you, Dwayne, there isn't problems till there is. Okay, home loan transactions are normally, or they're in theory supposed to be simple, right? So lender looks at your financial picture, they give you a pre-approval, and then you go look for a home. Then it goes into underwriting. They clear the conditions. They get the appraisal, and you go to closing, right? It sounds like a dream, but you don't hire somebody for the good stuff. You hire someone for when problems come up, and do they know how to handle it? And that's where we come in to be able to problem solve all those issues, good or bad, at least you're gonna get an answer, and it's gonna make sense, right? Because we follow what the VA handbook says. We're not pushing in overlays. Sometimes things may get really complicated in a transaction, and that's okay too. We have experience with all of those for majority of those things to be able to walk you through that process, even the sneaky things. So that's the main difference on us. This one's for you.
I read this. I'm not understanding it. If over 65 but was unemployable at 58, can I get 100%? You're talking about unemployability, which is TDIU, which is separate. We just talked about earlier, David. 100% permanent and total. Sounds like you had a temporary 100% 3 different times for something. Make sure you look at the criteria for IU. If not, does your overall evidence show that you should be 100% based on your service-connected conditions?
This is for you as well.
ACE exams. Okay, so people, I did a couple of videos on ACE exams. VA examiners are not supposed to do musculoskeletal ACE exams. Those are prohibited. Also with mental health. These VA third-party examiners, they're getting away with it because, one, the veteran doesn't know, and guess what, David? Some VA raters are not catching it, and they're rating the case. So in that video, I show the M21-1 that gives a whole list of different body systems, conditions that are not supposed to be done by ACE. If they call you on the phone, okay, they call you on the phone, you want to make sure you ask questions like, what is this exam for? Oh, it's for this condition. You need to know that diagnostic code criteria for that condition. Thanks,
Awesome.
James, for being a YouTube member.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
This one's for you. I didn't know.
Sizzler, yeah, I think maybe in Texas somewhere, maybe.
Texas. All right. Remy, yep. I got all y'all.
He said he got the tickets.
Yeah, we got it pronounced right. We did something right, Dwayne.
Yeah.
This one's for you.
Then with flat feet, what is the most percentage wise I can expect? I think flat feet goes up to 50%. I would have to look at the diagnostic code criteria online. I know they changed it a few years ago. I don't have all those. It's over 1,000 service-connected conditions. I think last time I checked, I think flat feet was 50%.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of conditions out there. This one's for you too.
It's not denied for a condition. Is it strategic to open a new claim using a different term for a diagnosed condition? Does the VSR officer look at the prior claim? Yes. So first, the question that you have to ask yourself on the first claim, why did they deny you? Did you have a CMP exam? If you had a CMP exam, more than likely the examiner gave a negative opinion. I got a video on that, Dave, like who denied your claim. And I give an example of when the rater denies it without an exam and when they deny it with a CMP exam. You need to get a copy of that CMP exam to see the VA examiner's rationale for the negative opinion. Once you get that, then you can build your game plan going forward.
I got you. This one's for you.
Thanks for the donation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just submitted a claim with diagnosis at private DBQ. Do I have to go to the CMP exam? I got a video on that about certain VA employees rejecting DBQs. If it's actionable and sufficient, 238 CFRs, 38 CFR 3.326 subpart B and 38 CFR 3.159, I want to say subpart 4 of that, breaks down when a CMP exam is not warranted. Okay, so as long as that private DBQ is actionable and sufficient, if I was still rating, I was rating when DBQs were out, I'm not even scheduling a CMP exam. They did that to me on my last claim. I submitted a DBQ. They scheduled a CMP exam. I did not go. It would be up to you. If you go, understand what could happen and what could not happen and how you need to fight.
Wow. So, but if you don't go to the CMP exam, can you? But no, but you could just, you don't have to schedule it.
Well, they'll schedule it. They probably schedule his and they probably called him. But he's saying, hey, I got a DBQ. So I knew my DBQ was actionable and sufficient because the VA trained me on what makes a DBQ actionable sufficient. So that would be crazy to me, David, to submit one that wasn't actionable and sufficient, right? So what I've seen, what happened with some veterans is they'll deny the claim saying you refused the exam. I did another video that states they're supposed to go in
Oh yeah.
the notes section of VBMS and put why they scheduled that CMP exam and didn't use your DBQ. And I call that video, let's put the VA to the test. A lot of veterans left comments and said, Dwayne, there was no notes. So guess what? Some VA employees are not even following their own guidance.
That's crazy. All right, now we're going into the power session where we're going to answer
Rapid
questions.
fire.
Rapid fire. All right, 100% PNT. My VA loan has interest. I haven't used it yet as a first-time home buyer, and that's kind of contradicting. But you can't waive interest, but you will pay the VA funding fee. Can you gift a child your first home and start off fresh with your COE? So if you have a home with a VA home loan, you can have a child assume your VA home loan, or they can live in it. You could put it in a trust technically. I'm not an attorney. Talk to one. And then you could buy another one, but you can't refresh your certificate of eligibility unless you sell the house or pay it off and move it into a different entity. This one's free. 100% PNT. My VA home loan has no. I re-answered that one. Yeah, that's another one. All right, this one's for you.
If you are 90% TDIU, yes, you are 100% PNT. That should be automatic. You don't have to be bed bound for ANA. Just make sure the service connected conditions that you're putting on the 2680 are all service connected.
You.
DD form 2697 report medical assessment. Can this be used for service connection even if no medical treatment is service? Yes. So when they talk about getting to a CMP exam, what can be used? What they're looking for is treatment, complaint, diagnosis, injury, or disease while on active duty. That should be enough to get you to the CMP exam, not guaranteeing service connection.
All right, question. I used my VA in 86 while on active duty, sold it and used it again in 02. Do you know how far back the review is going? I'm not sure if with VA loans, it's basically if you use the VA loan, you sold it, they're good. If you bought the home in 02 and you still have it, then you still have your original entitlement locked into the house. So if you bought the home at 300,000 and you paid it off, you still got 300,000 in entitlement locked into that property if you still own it in your name.
Okay, so PS, I think you need to take a step back and you got to understand this process, okay? Based off your last question, this question, can you get, if you're service connected for CAD, yes. If you're service connected for tinnitus, no, because if you're service connected for tinnitus at 10%, that's the highest you can get. So again, people, increases, you have to know this basic stuff.
Yep, this one's for you.
Oh man, I missed that one. You jumped all the way down.
I jumped a couple done, yeah.
Okay, I'm at 90% TIU PNT. When I turn 55, will I try for the 100%? Can I enter the claim now? Okay, so there's two different things. The 55, basically, the only thing at 55 is telling the VA employee, the rater, do not schedule a routine future exam. That's it. That's the only thing at 55, nothing else. Okay, so you can file for a higher percentage if you're trying to, you can file for a higher percentage for increase or service connection for a new condition if you're trying to get to 100%. That 55 and you trying to get 100% is totally different. Thanks for the donation. Thanks for the donation, Andy, Dr. Andy. Claim back, negative submitted, private DQ. They asked for CMP. I went, then they requested ACE. They cannot do that on a musculoskeletal people. Then they use CMP exam for my last claim a year ago. Nope. Can't do it. If they did an ACE exam, I wouldn't even do a high level review. I would go straight to the judge and ask the judge to grant the benefit based on difference of opinion.
Dang. What's the fastest way to pay off a VA loan? The best thing to do, I mean, if you win the lottery, that's probably the easiest. Okay. But if you want to pay it off over time, right, it's going to be making extra monthly payments towards principal. A mortgage recast, your payment doesn't change, but how much interest you're paying towards your mortgage changes every month with making a principal payment, right? in a regular mortgage payment, it's interest and principal and interest. In the beginning of the loan, it's mostly principal. Halfway through, it flips to being mostly interest first, then it turns into principal. You can accelerate that by making extra monthly payments, even if it's $100 or $50, whatever it is a month. You can make extra payments. If you want to get really aggressive and your budget allows for it, figure out what your mortgage payment is or would be on a 15-year mortgage, and then just make an extra principal payment of the difference between the 15-year and your current mortgage payment, and you'll save a ridiculous amount of interest. This one's for you.
I had 7 heart attacks, that's still at 30%. Okay. In the rating decision that showed that granted the 30%, they also, like I stated earlier, I have to tell you why the next highest percentage is not warranted. A rate increase for tinnitus. Show me that. I've never seen where you get it. Only way you can, I've seen increase in tinnitus is a temporary 100%. The veteran actually had some type of surgery for tinnitus, and then they reduced them back down to 10%. David, somebody did have a question, like saying, trying to get a Nexus. I do have sponsors on my channel. You go to the description section.
This one.
Yeah, you go to the description section. But keep in mind, there are people out here paying a lot of money for Nexus statements. If I was still rating and you sent me a sufficient Nexus statement, I'm still scheduling you for a CMP exam. I'm not going to ask for the medical opinion because you gave it to me. But guess what most raters are going to do now? They're going to schedule an exam to get the DBQ completed and a Nexus. Okay? So just keep that in mind, because in a Nexus, it doesn't have the diagnostic code criteria. The diagnostic code criteria is on the DBQ. So, Dave, we got veterans going out here spending hundreds of dollars just for a Nexus letter. That makes sense.
That's crazy. That's a good evening, Dwayne and David. David enjoyed our call the other day. Were able to get assistance from your realtor? So he's probably talking about Lourdes, who does some of the videos with me. And fill out a form to receive a COE. I hope I can get some help. Yeah, just, you know what? Schedule another call with me, and then we can get you set up on that. That's and you can do that down in the description or on my YouTube channel, VA Housing Education. We'll go through that. This one is for you.
Girl at 98.2%. Okay. All right, Scott. All right. Wait on 7 penny claims. Pray I get 100%. All right, Scott. Hey, when you say 90.2%, I'm pretty sure you're going to get that 95%. If you break it down like that. Yeah, we already answered that one, Dave.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, we did.
This one, suck it up, Buttercup. That was our era. Yes.
Oh, Graf was it? Oh, he's talking about me.
Yeah,
that's Grafenveer. Yeah, so you know about Grafenveer and Hohenfels. Yeah. Okay.
Did you actually cut the grass with the scissors?
Yeah.
That would have been priceless. Because
they had those old lawnmowers, man. They had those old Army lawnmowers. They didn't even look like a lawnmower. They just like you have, like, you go to Home Depot, Lowe's, you see a lawnmower. It was a green lawnmower with these numbers on it, and I was like, "What is that?"
Because it was,
yeah. And I was like, "What the?" It was like, I know what it was. It worked, but we couldn't get gas, and we didn't want to walk all the way to the motor pool and get gas off the truck, because in your trucks you would have the gas can, right, and you had to keep it full of gas. And so Tombstone was like, "Oh, y'all don't want to do it? All right, we'll just I go to Supply and get some scissors." He's out there cutting.
That's crazy.
Like, I hope I pass out.
You know what?
From this heat.
This is kind of related to VA disability, but can things like that, or you doing things that were just like, why you're doing this, can that be a stressor for getting like a mental disability?
Yeah, if you go to mental, you don't even have to go to mental, man. You just go to your chaplain and complain about it. And it got to be documented. What do you mean? Right? It got to be documented.
You have to document it?
I mean, if they document it, but most chaplains probably won't, because if that's a stressor, it has to be verified. Now let's just say you and your buddy, like, you can go to Facebook. There's guys that I serve with, and they're going through the claims process. And neither one of them has said, "Dwayne, would you write me a buddy letter?" And one of them, I was like, I remember taking a PT test and you almost failed because your knee gave out and you would wear these little cheap ACE bandages.
Yeah.
and he's trying to get. I think he eventually got service connected, but they denied him, and he never, And one gentleman, he worked with me, and I was supposed to go through my file. I was like, man, I need to go through it because we were at NTC together, and OC threw some tear gas while we were sleeping, and he ran up these rocks and so, his boxers and t-shirt. He's like, "You remember that?" I was like, "I remember that." And so if it didn't get documented, but I said I still have my awards from NTC. Were you there? He's like, "Man, it wasn't that rotation," and I'm like, there's no other documentation that I have. If you were at that rotation, then I could write a lay statement and they can use that because they can look at his 201 file and look at my 201 file. Oh, these guys were in 182 FA 1st Cavalry Division, Fort Hood at this particular time. And then if they don't concede it, he can go to a judge and say, hey, they should have conceded that this happened because I worked for Staff Sergeant Kimball, and he proved that, I was going to send in a copy of that award. You could do something like that, but yeah.
That's crazy.
But PTSD, yeah, if we were out there and I was like, years later, I'm like, man, you remember when we was cutting that with them scissors and I went in and got, treatment and I got diagnosed with PTSD because of that. And then had somebody write a letter. Yeah, I was right beside you. I was right beside him. We were complaining about it too.
We were cutting the grass.
Yeah.
That's so funny. This is a good question. How do I avoid paying closing costs? So,
don't buy a house.
Well, yeah, it's kind of tough. Home ownership is expensive. I'll tell you that home ownership is going to be a lot more to owning a house than just closing costs, right? I know this painfully, so painfully. And I know you do as well, Dwayne. You changed all the windows. You did a bunch of stuff. I got to do a bunch of stuff. So home ownership is really an investment, okay? Things go break, right? The air conditioning breaks. The HVAC goes out. You need to clean the lines in the house. Things happen, right? So you're spending a couple $1,000s a year just on maintenance. To get closing costs paid for, sellers can pay for closing costs. But if you're in a hot market, they don't pay for them. Right now is kind of the best time to buy because most markets have slowed down somewhat. And especially during December, January, just in general, it's the holidays. People are not moving as much. So it's a really good time to take advantage of that to see if you can get closing costs paid for. I think this question is in regards to you providing a DBQ yourself. But yeah, I'm with them.
Yeah. There's only some VA employees. I got a video, some VA employees rejecting DBQs. It's not all VA employees.
No. Thanks, Jen, for joining us. Great information. Thank you. Merry Christmas. This question is a good one. What has replaced the VAST program and how does it work? I was forced to refinance from 2.5 to 7.5 after I was in jeopardy of losing my house. Things are tight. So I just dropped a video today, actually, on what is happening with this new VAST replacement program that was signed into law at the end of July. Like there's a whole law with the protection for veterans, but it hasn't been implemented. It's been 6 months and they haven't provided any information. I've reached out to the VA. I got contacts at the VA because I do some work with them. Crickets, no answers. So basically, in essence, to give you kind of a quick rundown of it, what happens is that whatever you're behind, the VA is going to basically buy that out or buy you out and put a second mortgage, a second lien on your house. Okay. And then when you go to sell it or refinance, you're going to have to pay that back pay off that you owe. But most veterans have about $100,000 in equity in their homes that are facing foreclosure. If you're forced into this refi, which is a total disaster because it's a 40-year mortgage probably, and you're paying way crazy amount of interest back on that. So it'd be kind of tough to refinance right now, especially having lates on your mortgage. But you're gonna have to just stay up, I guess stay with the updates that we do because that program is approved, but it hasn't been implemented at all.
No.
So, unfortunately, this was for you.
That's easy to understand. What you want to do is keep everything that you send to VA, keep everything that the VA sends you. If you go to a VA medical center to get treatment, make sure, I wouldn't say have a copy because all that stuff is electronic, but know the dates of treatment from the time before you submitted that claim until that claim was adjudicated. So when you get to the evidence section, you should know which should be what they should have looked at, and what they say they looked at is in the evidence section.
This one's for you.
No, those were not hard. If it was just TBI, but when you throw TBI and a mental condition in there, then it gives me a moment of pause, because on the mental DBQ, when it comes to occupational and social impairment, which one is related to the mental condition, which one is related to TBI, and then the symptom section, which one is related to TBI. So you always have to pay close attention to that. But when it was just TBI and residuals like migraines, tinnitus, those are nuggets, all right. Then it was okay, because the VBMS system is was set up really easy to click the facets and the different sections from the facets. If it was 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. So it's just a matter of making sure you get you select the right number under the particular facet.
This one's good. I was in from 77 to 91, and I have cut grass with hedge trimmer.
Well, you had hedge trimmers. We had scissors. Like,
you know what? We should do we should do a live event. Just telling funny stories of the military. Like, everyone drops their comments in, and we'll just talk about them.
Yeah,
and then we'll connect them for PTSD.
Yeah.
All right. Next one is for me, David. How can I be disassociated from my ex's VA home loan? She's not making those payments on time. So, if you are divorced and it's not your VA loan, right? So it's your spouse's VA loan. You are a co-signer on that loan, and you are divorced, and clearly in the divorce decree, they are awarded the house and you are not. Then it's pretty easy. You just call the VA and they could just remove you from there. I'm oversimplifying it, but essentially you call the VA Regional Loan Center. You give them the address, the information. Then you're going to submit your divorce documents to them, and they should just be removing you from the loan. It should be that simple. I recently got $15,000 refunded from the VA this past November. It was unexpected, but I'm happy dance when I found out. If that's for the VA loan, I'm assuming that's because the VA funding fee was refunded.
You say VA finance fee?
Yeah, it's the VA finance fee. Yeah, so
okay.
Recently, if you guys don't know, there was like a OIG investigation where like veterans didn't get a refund of the VA funding fee. So essentially, if you guys use the VA loan, right? Let me use an example right now. You're going to close on a house on December 31st. It's your New Year's present. But you are like, you watch this video and you're like, man, I've been putting off filing for tinnitus for like 20 years. And I'm going to go ahead and file today, my intent to file, right? You go close on your home, you pay the VA funding fee. 11 months later, you go and you file your claim. And then 2 years later, you have your claim awarded, and it's backdated to today. You will take that letter and call the VA Regional Loan Center and say, hey, I've been awarded my 10% VA disability. It's backdated to before I buy my home. I want a refund of my VA funding fee. You got one automatically, which is great, but a lot of veterans don't. Okay. You have to call and get your refund back. So that is a good one. This one's for you.
I looked at this earlier. You know, they can look at anything that's in your claims folder, but the question becomes, or is, will it have an impact when they adjudicate your claim? I've seen in some cases where it was helpful and others not. Now, if you had a CMP exam from, let's say, the same claim like from before, and you come back in, no, I'm not going back and look at that. Hey, I'm just looking at the current information. Do you want service connection? Do you want to increase? I'm granted. Boom, moving on to the next vet.
Okay, we got 2 questions left, and those are the last 2 questions that we're going to be answering. So this is one of the last 2.
What if you had an issue misdiagnosed? So CMP exam couldn't confirm. Now you have a correct diagnosis, the referred pain. And that mixed diagnosis, I don't, I guess I understand it, but I don't understand it. If you were misdiagnosed, what do you mean? Like, you know, you had a, and I don't mean to be insensitive, but when you say misdiagnosed, you had asthma, but it was actually COPD, you know, so whatever the current diagnosis is. So once before you had a diagnosis, but again, there's so many other factors that come into play. You know, what was the evidence of record at the time? What were you treated for? You know, all that stuff is going to have to be looked at.
All right, and the last one is this.
I was only able to get 100% PNT because I kept my personal records from going to the doctor while I was in. The info wasn't on record. Special thank you to my grandmother. She told me to keep him. Yep, there it is, people.
So that's awesome. Well,
That's
good.
it.
Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Make sure you guys subscribe to both of our channels, like the video, share it. We do these every month. We're gonna wish everybody a happy New Year.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good time to implement change. All right, good time to implement change.
Yep.
Most people could become homeowners if they would just budget, please. A lot of people can become homeowners if they budget. And stop delaying filing for your VA disability, please. It doesn't get any easier. It doesn't get any better. Okay.
No.
I'll leave it at that. But I really appreciate everyone. Thanks, Dwayne, again for doing this. And then we'll talk to you guys soon.